All right, here we go with the 15th video for this series of 2025 free agent offensive guards for the Miami Dolphins. Again, that last part is critical because it's not necessarily how I view the players as a whole, it's how I view these players specifically to the Dolphins scheme and how they could help to fix some of the issues that the team had in 2024. You can see that the rankings of 1 through 10 are up of what we've looked at so far. And as a reminder, the clips that we're going to look at here are going to be short yardage run plays, so 1 to 2 yards to go. The thought process behind that is if a player can succeed in the run game when the pressure is that high, then they're probably going to do well in more neutral scenarios. And with pass protection as well, some of the stuff in that short yardage run game, the balance and the technique necessary is going to carry over to your pass blocking as well. The reps here are not going to be all good or bad that we're looking at. Just try to go through that, set of plays and find some ones that I felt were relevant to talk about. It's not going to be the same for every player, same number for every player. And they're going to be pretty much in chronological order. And then last thing here is that these are not the only plays that I watched personally when forming the final opinion that we're going to talk about at the end here and see where he, could slot in with these guard rankings. So the guard that we're going to look at today is going to be Laken Tomlinson. He was a first round pick of the Lions back in 2015. He was traded to the 49ers in 2017, which was Kyle Shanahan's first year with the team. And at 6'3", 323 pounds, this is a player that kind of changed the way that I look at guards for this offense, specifically the left guards. And I haven't completed the research for that, but I do think there's a different physical and athletic profile for the left guard versus the right guard in this scheme. After his time with after his rookie contract ran out, he then signed a 3-year contract with the 49ers, and he played that out for a total of 5 years with San Francisco. He then went and signed a 3-year contract with the Jets. He was released after the second season, and then last year he spent with the Seattle Seahawks. So let's flip over to the film portion of this. And he's going to be your left guard, number 70 here. First play here, getting some inside zone. You can see that, we're getting the combo between Tomlinson and the right tackle through number 39. And solid job there. Does a good job staying on that double team or combo block basically as long as he can. And then he's able to fall off on a number 39. Next play here. Again, left side. So now we're getting another inside zone to the left. In this case, it's going to be the center comboing with Tomlinson. And you can see that the combo on the backside here is what's going to number 48. And the front side combo is working to number 35 here. And, the center probably leaves a little earlier than what you'd want. But at the same time, Tomlinson should have eyes on that player as well and see that he's going over the top. Tomlinson should be working more towards the center of this defender so that he can't scrape and fall back into that play. Now back to you, still on the left side. More inside zone from the Seahawks. All right, another combo block between the center and Tomlinson. And you can see that the backside is working up to number 35 here. Front side is working to 48. And just not a ton of movement there by Tomlinson. Again, center probably could have stayed on this a little bit longer. But in terms of vertical movement here on inside zone, right, Tomlinson's doing more catching there than he is really getting off the ball and creating movement on that defensive tackle. Next one here, got game against the Vikings. More inside zone left. And what we have here is that basically everybody on the left side here is solo blocking is the way the Seahawks are doing this. So left tackle is trying to get out here on Van Ginkel. Tomlinson's going to have this defensive end, and the center is going to try to get to this, two technique defensive tackle. The combo on the backside here is what is going to try to work up to the linebacker. So when we're looking at Tomlinson specifically, he does a really good job on this play of, as he comes out of his stance, right? You're probably looking at those alignments, right? You would think that everything is going to kind of wash outside here and they're going to cut it back, right? Everybody's going to kind of fan out and give the running back a cutback read, but you can see that the Vikings slant into the offense, into the interior, and that Tomlinson does a really good job of, letting that defender slant across his face, being able to flip his hips, and then being able to seal him to the inside. Obviously, the combo on the backside didn't get up to the linebacker here, but from Tomlinson's perspective, good rep. Another one against the Vikings. More inside zone. And now you can kind of see, what that play probably should have looked like. Not should have, but like your initial reads here, right? Same idea here is that everything is fanning out. I think they went solo here between the tackle and Tomlinson on the 4-eye or 3 technique defensive tackle, and the end out here. Your combo on the backside here was your center and your guard. You can see that, as the play is developing, more towards the beginning of the play, you can see him pointing, right? They're suspecting a blitz here. And you can see that as that linebacker walks up, right, then this becomes solo blocks there as well. So from Tomlinson's perspective, pretty good job here of, that defender has that outside leverage, right? He wants to take that step outside and he wants to hold that outside leverage. No problem at all. Just get a little bit of movement and seal him to the outside. Got the highlighter green uniforms here facing you. More inside zone or duo type stuff. And similar idea here. Right? So these are all going to be basically solo blocks. The center really doesn't commit to either guard helping him out. So from Tomlinson's perspective, not really getting help there. So that defender wants to slant to the inside, no problem. Just going to wash him down. And, had some split flow action where you had a blocked miss there is what blew up the play. But from Tomlinson's perspective, another good rep. Now we got the Cardinals. And now we're getting some guard tackle counter action. You can see that Tomlinson does okay on the move. Nice job here as he's getting to contact. That defender's squeezing, right? And we talked about in previous videos the old school pull right, hit right. And that's exactly what you see Tomlinson doing here, is getting that right shoulder, climbing into the line of scrimmage a little bit, delivering that contact with the right shoulder. And that's what's going to allow your tackle and your running back to turn up that lane and get a nice gain there. So, good kick out block here by Tomlinson. Now facing you against the Cardinals, now we're getting guard tackle counter the other way. So on the front side, everybody's just blocking down, trying to create a wall. So the center here is going to block to the back side of this, which is going to put Tomlinson on the nose and the tackle on this 3 technique. And, good enough rep by Tomlinson here. He gets into position, he walls it out. The aiming point is going to be more out here. In a perfect world, I'd probably like to see a little more movement from Tomlinson here when you're blocking down on that defender. And for both of these guys really work to crash this side of that defensive line down to open that lane. Adequate, not great block from Tomlinson on that one. Now we're getting down to a goal line situation. We get some motion from the left side here on this play. So this one, nothing spectacular here, but when you look at where Tomlinson is lined up and that four-eye defensive tackle, we're working really short yardage stuff here. And I really like his initial quickness just to get outside and seal that off. You can see that, we've talked about before, turning, running, getting to that outside shoulder. And as he gets there, that left hand, the catch hand, right, swinging him around, gets those hips around, and just anchors down. So, even though this block doesn't necessarily affect the play, I still like the quickness and the way that he flipped the hips to seal his defender to the inside. More Cardinals film. So now we're getting more of an outside zone type play. And same idea here from Tomlinson, just going the other way. The center really doesn't give him any help on this nose, but Tomlinson, and I mean, the nose slants to his side a little bit, but you're looking at a zero technique that slants, maybe to a one technique area, and still a good job by Tomlinson of getting around and sealing. You'd like to see him anchor down a little bit better there, but that running back having to cut back more because the player off the edge was and not getting enough movement on the front side was a bigger issue than Tomlinson here. Still think this was a good short area quickness rep. All right, so we got a miss here, right? So this is inside zone blocking again. I think this was, or maybe maybe it was more like just an ISO, not necessarily inside zone, but essentially, where you want to have these two, the guard tackle on the tackle end here, and then you're ISOing to number 7. And you can see that on this rep, Tomlinson steps down, that defender is stepping out, and, we've talked about him doing a good job being able to flip the hips, and I want to look at that one again. I don't think he gets tripped up there, but, this is one of those situations that, if he's able to flip those hips and just drive that defender to the outside, right, then everything's happening on the inside there. Instead, the fullback has to now pick up the defensive tackle and, just creates a tackle for loss there. All right, we've got a few more to go here against the 49ers. All right, so now against some inside zone type blocking. So as Tomlinson steps left here, right, and he steps right first, which isn't typical when you're running inside zone, so I'm not sure, whether they had something else called here. Maybe it was more of just a straight dive play. I don't know. But you can see that, that left foot step, right foot, and just not in a good position to be able to get any kind of vertical movement there on the defender. Whereas had the left foot gone first, then that right foot could drive more vertical into the defender and had a chance to convert here. All right, so now we're getting outside zone. And you can see here that Tomlinson does a good job. Combo block here between Tomlinson and the tackle to work up to the linebacker. Doesn't necessarily get up to the linebacker very well. But from Tomlinson's perspective, right, gets even, gets over the top, and then seals them to the inside. That's exactly what you want to see on that portion of the combo block here. And then last one that we have here for Tomlinson against the Rams again. So it's going to be inside zone. And you can see that defender is slanting to the front side. and that's fine, right? We've talked about before on zone plays. You don't have to necessarily take him left or right, but once he takes that step over and he's committing to taking that left side as he's slanting to it, right? Now the idea here is that you just have to make sure he stays committed to that. And that's what we have from everybody else there as well. End up having basically too many defenders to point of attack. But in terms of the blocking there, you're getting exactly what you want to see in terms of everybody blocking down, except for the tight end doesn't do a great job there of getting number 39. But from Tomlinson's perspective, decent block here. All right, so that was probably a little more video review than I planned on doing on Tomlinson, but just a lot of good stuff that can relate to what we're hoping the Dolphins do. So when we talk about him in terms of the top 10 guards, I don't have him anywhere near the top, right? He was a very good guard in this system at one point, and you can see some of that short area quickness that he still has, but there's a lack of power when watching him. There's a few reps where he's off balance. So when I look at the top end of these rankings, these are the guys that I feel can do this at a high level. And then we've got some guys that, do other stuff at high levels, but, could be adequate in the outside zone. And then just a couple of, kind of high potential type guys at the bottom of that list. So Laken Tomlinson, for me, just, doesn't appear to be a player that I can put in the top 10 of this list and say that I would prefer him over the 10 guys that are on here. Like I said, not sure if this is going to be the last one for this series or not. We'll have to see what comes next, whether it's a new guard or whether we start applying some of the stuff that we didn't talk about or tried not to talk about in these rankings. We have discussed that we're not talking about the price of these players. We're not talking about the age so much. We're not talking about the injury status. But maybe we'll circle back and start to apply some of those factors to this list and see how that changes it. As always, leave a comment below and appreciate you guys watching.